Hello, good afternoon. So I got the last pillar. So we talk about the digital operation. This is rather a big topic. It reminds me 5 years ago. So I have the similar, I was in a conference similar to this. I was addressing to executives from the financial industry. The slogan was very clear. The slogan says, banking is changing with or without banks. At that time, 5 years ago, fintech hits financial market very heavily, and all the executives was anxiety very high. They were trying to understand the digital transformation, how to do it. Unfortunately, at that time, they don't have Trevor. They don't have this community, right? So they have to figure out themselves. They have to put bits and parts all together. So today, I'm honored to be here. It's fair to say, for these 2 days, what I have got from this 5G era, we can probably say telecom is changing with or without telecoms. I think it's fair to say that. So if we're looking at from digital operation perspective, let's look at two trends. So the first, on the macro level, I think everybody is familiar with the term of the fourth industrial revolution. So we are on the way from the third industrial revolution to the fourth. In the third industrial revolution, it's primarily driven by information technologies. Now on the fourth, we call it 4IR, right? Fourth industrial revolution, we're talking about physical, biological, and also artificial intelligence. There is, for these three categories, there's always a technology associated with this. So when we talk about technology today, we are not just talking about information technology. We're not just talking about your IT systems. We're actually talking about these three. Because of these three, when World Economic Forum defines the fourth industrial revolution, they actually said there are unlimited possibilities, which could be good thing or bad thing. Good thing is that if you are a startup, you have amazingly number of opportunities. But the bad thing is if you are established business, you are almost doomed because the vertical may never exist anymore. So how do we write this? Now, World Economic Forum didn't say anything about it. The only thing they said is you can clearly see a trend. Technology and business are merging. In telcos, I've been working with telcos for over 10 years. The trend is coming. In financial industries, where I work with most for the past 3 years, you can clearly see the diminishing of IT department and the forming of the new technology department, or technology as actually a new company. This new company has all the peoples actually borrowed from previously we have the separation of business and IT. This new technology companies actually embrace all of them. So this is a trend. Many telcos have been doing it. So we have this morning's Indonesia Telecom showing us that they're actually doing it. So this macro trend tells us that there's no separation of business and technology anymore. So that's going to be the new business model. Then if we look at the micro trend, to each companies, whether you are a startup or whether you are established, you are not only working with a business model that's sustainable. You also have business models. You actually have some business cases you want to exploit. You want to make it as the major revenue stream for yourself. And more importantly, for this 5G eras, every telco, you guys are facing furious competitions on innovation. But we all know innovation has to start small. So which means that you have to explore simultaneously a lot of ideas. You have to even cross domains. You have to get into the financial domains to competing with them on the payment systems. You actually have to get in the entertainment business to show them I can also do music. I can also be Spotify. A lot of telcos is actually doing this right now, but those come with associated cost, which means that you are running all those experiments, which may fail. 99% of the business failed. I had 2 startup experiences during my life. The first thing, important thing is that you find money. And investor tell you, I'm actually have 80% of certainties about your team. That's enough, right? You have a four people team, have good profiles. I will invest on you. On the back, when they have the drink, what they will say, these guys will going to fail. But we don't care, right? We have 100 startups we invested. We just need one. That one will give us the return on the investment for the whole thing. So internally, on the micro level, the things has changed. You have to start thinking very differently. With this two trend, everybody is talking about Agile, just like Jonathan said. I have been doing Agile organizations for 10 years. I'm not exaggerating, I'm doing that for 10 years. I have been constantly talking to the founders of Agile, who actually putting Agile manifestos on the web for you guys. So last time we talked about, actually it was a conference last year, we discussed that. We said that 10 years before that, we are solving a problem trying to sell the Agile spirit to you to develop software. We're trying to teach you how to do software with that way. And I think after 10 years, everybody's convinced. Agile Manifesto and all the practices was formed in 2001. After 10 years, everybody is convinced that Agile is a way of doing software. But last year, when we get together, we said we are solving a different problem. That's a completely different problem. We are selling the idea your business has to be run this way. That's a completely different problem we are solving. So if you are saying, okay, I'm doing Agile transformation, I'm doing Agile transformation for the IT team, you are doing it wrong. You will not get the agility you wanted for this digital era. So 4 things I think is worth to mention. I'm not going to prepare a whole bunch of things. But first thing is you have to simplify the business model. Just think about that, how complicated your BSS and OS system. I have a technology background. I was joking about that. I say telcos are actually moving very slow. Just guess, if you want to connect 2 cell phones, how many lines of code do you need? The answer is actually across 1 billion lines of code. I actually touch those codes. So that's how complicated it is. But if you tell me, said, I use half percent of the code to do it, I say you are not simplifying it. I'm talking about simplify it from the customer perspective. You have to simplify your business models. You are not going to build more bundles and more packages to your customers. You are not going to confuse them. You need to simplify your business model. The last 3 points, I'm not going to get into details because of time, but that's actually, from the operation perspective, those are important points you have to take. Now, because we want to solve a different problem, we want your business to run in an agile fashion. We want the business agility. What's the problem? The problem is that we don't have a platform to support it. Can you imagine 10 years ago, your call center is running Spotify-ish model. You are running a Scrum team with 5 people, organize a call center this way. A lot of companies are doing that right now. With what? With this thinking in mind, with the platform to power them. So by platform thinking, we actually mean 3 things. First thing, previously, you guys are all proud of the established businesses, are all proud of the business model you guys built and the processes associated with that business model. But now we need to think differently. We need to think how to leverage digital platform to do the same thing. With a traditional business, you have processes. Now with the digital platform, you have to remove those silos, remove the frictions with digital platforms. Second, you have to take an ecosystem view. GitHub is by far the largest code base, and nobody is going to beat that. So your company is not going to build a GitHub. You're going to build an ecosystem connected with them. The third point, as I said, investment on the innovations means you have to do experiments. Experiments do fail. You have to make sure that your failures, you can learn from it, and you can actually business sustain from it. You can't just destroy your business with one failure from experiment. So I have to define the platform thinking a little bit more. By platform thinking, if we go back to this original model, we have 3 layers. If you're from technology background, you're probably familiar with this, what I'm talking about. On the top layers, we have business platforms. We're talking about, yesterday, a lot of telcos share their entertainment business. You are doing payments. You need a business platform to support it. On the bottom, we are talking about cloud, right? We are talking about NFVs. We are talking about software-defined networks. But what we really want to focus for internal digital operation perspective is the middle layer. It's application platforms. Traditionally, what your IT department doing for application platforms is to say, I'm developing a microservice framework. I'm doing a DevOps platform. That's what they mean by application platforms. But if you really take a close look at it, what you really need is actually capabilities. You have to build a capability platform. By capability platform, I actually mean a lot of things. I just list a few, right? From the traditional infrastructures towards the newer image recognitions, voice recognitions, AI systems, all those capabilities. If we're looking at the capability you need, you will be almost doomed to say that's impossible to finish even with 5 years. But luckily, as I said, you have to take an ecosystem perspective. Just the least, this is from 2 years ago. Now you have many choices. You actually have choices where you can buy, or you can build, or you can acquire, you can invest on a lot of platforms and capabilities. You can actually integrate it into your capability systems. So you can actually build it quite cheaply. To be honest, you can actually fast track within half a year. You'll be able to have all the things you have. If you actually allows your developers to do it, that's actually, they can finish open sources within a week, right? So to further clarify and define that formally, I would like to say 3 things about the capability platforms, what I mean by it. First of all, by the capability platform thinkings, you have to think developers as your customers. The problem with the definition of developers, right, is a real problem for everybody. If I say developers, you are thinking about your IT people. You are thinking about people who write code. If you attend those those executive meetings, you will see the VPs of the financial business sectors sitting on the stage, open the laptop and writing code. What is she doing? She is mining the data and showing you their company's performance in real time. Would you call her a programmer previously? No. But would you call her a developer in the future? Yes. So developers means that everybody is going to be a developer in the digital platform. So you have to really think about their experience, your internal employees, your external experts, your partners, your ecosystems. You have to think about that. Second, it has to be a living instance. There is no way you can build it with a 1-year plan, 3-year delivery. It's going to fail miserably. It has to be justified many times. It has to be a living instance. You have to make sure that it's always have some business cases building on top of it. It's keep evolving. It's actually live. The third point, it has to self-service. Just like the open roads community said, it has to be DIY. You cannot give your users or developers 100 pages of user documents and ask them, say, go read the document and use it. It's not going to happen, right? So I would like to finish it with a framework, thinking framework, help you to plan it out. So we look at globally companies who did that in different sectors, and we come up with these 5 pillars. Pillars, sorry about it. I'm not going into the details of each pillar, but rather I would like to give you a use case. How can you use it? For each pillars, we have give you the capabilities. We define some capabilities. You can actually find it on the ThoughtWorks website, definitions of each of the capabilities. For instance, for this consumer goods companies, unfortunately, we are not allowed to name them. They have certain goals for building this internal operation-based digital platform. They have their key matrices defined. They have their key focus defined, and I simplify that in these 3 areas. So if you look at a table, from capability perspective, I'm not asking you to do all the things. I'm actually asking you to look at outcome perspective, define your focus, and then look at a capability perspective, what you need to emphasize for a certain stage. So every industry, every company, and also depends on which stage you are at, you're actually going to focus on the capabilities very differently. One of the disclosable case is the TELUS, which is I think in the same verticals today, so I select that. When we started working with TELUS, some of you may know, in 2013 they did organization transformation. They changed their team structures into Spotify-ish structure. They have squad, they have tribe, they defined. When we got in last year, 2017, what we identified is that they said, well, I'm looking for the responsiveness to the market. I have to change the team structure. Now I want to know, how can I do better? How can I really harness the agilities the organization structure promised you? So when we quickly identified that there's a missing piece, which is actually what I'm talking about here, is the platform thinking. So with the help, the result shows, this is the end of my talk. Looks like I'm just right on time. I'm also available on coffee hours if you guys want to talk about it. Thank you.